Caitlin Clark caught gossiping with Sophie Cunningham on bench and lip readers claim WNBA star said, "She hates me." WNBA stars Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham appeared to be caught gossiping about a fellow player during the Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings on Friday. The duo were filmed talking on courtside, with Cunningham holding a towel over her mouth to avoid giving away what she was saying. However, Clark seemingly responded, "Yep, I know, she hates me." Although it was unclear who the duo were talking about, some fans have already started to speculate. Clark previously had a feud with Dallas player Dejanai Carrington, who poked her in the eye during the WNBA playoffs last year while playing for the Connecticut Sun. The 23-year-old was left with a black eye as a result and later told reporters, "Obviously, she got me pretty good in the eye." Carrington mocked Clark by recreating the incident a month later, during an Instagram Live with girlfriend and fellow WNBA star Nalissa Smith. Meanwhile, Cunningham jumped to her teammates' defense recently by claiming that she is unfairly targeted by other WNBA players. Speaking on her new podcast, the 28-year-old said, "You have seen players in our league try and toughen up Caitlin, even when I wasn't on her team. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room. No, we're going to show her what the W really is. I get it to a certain extent. Every rookie coming into the league, that's how you're going to treat them. But there's just more for her. Now being on her team, I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much." Clark has been unavailable for the Indiana Fever for the last 3 weeks due to a groin injury. In a packed arena pulsing with tension and the rhythmic thuds of basketballs, the camera panned to the bench where Caitlin Clark sat, towel draped around her shoulders, sweat slick on her brow. Next to her was Sophie Cunningham, veteran forward for the Phoenix Mercury, wearing a sly smirk and an easy posture that belied the chippy intensity of the game. For most fans watching the broadcast, it was a fleeting, silent moment, 2 WNBA players exchanging a few words during a timeout. But for the dedicated lip readers of the internet, it became a spark. "She hates me," Clark was seen mouthing, eyes darting across the court. Within minutes, #SheHatesMe was trending on social media, accompanied by slow-motion replays, reaction GIFs, and a slew of amateur interpretations. Was she talking about a teammate? A coach? Another player on the opposing team? The air of mystery only fed the fire, and suddenly, a seemingly innocuous bench conversation had become the most talked-about moment in the league that week. But underneath the digital frenzy was something far more interesting than gossip. A snapshot of vulnerability and identity in a league that thrives on grit, flash, and unspoken respect. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom who had taken the WNBA by storm after a record-breaking college career, had never been one to mask her emotions. On the court, her fire was palpable. She talked trash, she celebrated three-pointers with swagger, and she never backed down from a challenge. But professional leagues are a different animal. The WNBA in particular is not just about talent. It's about legacy, unspoken pecking orders, and navigating locker rooms filled with women who fought tooth and nail for their place. Sophie Cunningham, meanwhile, was no stranger to controversy or confidence. Known for her scrappy defense, quick wit, and occasional Twitter spats, she had carved out a reputation as someone who could both antagonize and inspire. She had a foot in both worlds, veteran enough to command respect, young enough to relate to the new generation. Their moment on the bench wasn't about malice. It was a collision of 2 very different journeys through the same battleground. According to close-up footage, the conversation seemed casual, even humorous at times. Clark leaned in slightly, as if to make sure she wasn't overheard, and Cunningham's expression morphed from neutral to amused in a heartbeat. But it was that single line, "She hates me," that pulled back the curtain on the emotional tightrope Clark was walking. To outsiders, it was drama. To those inside the world of women's basketball, it was real. Later that week, Cunningham was asked about the moment during a press conference. She chuckled and waved it off. "Caitlin's fiery. We all know that," she said. "She's adjusting to the league, and yeah, sometimes you feel like you're not being welcomed with open arms. But this league isn't built for comfort. It's built for competitors. I told her to keep being her. That's why she's here." Caitlin didn't elaborate when reporters followed up, only saying, "Sophie's cool." She gets it. But behind their guarded words lay a deeper truth. The WNBA is a small league with a massive heart. Relationships matter. Rivalries simmer. Respect isn't always given, especially to rookies who come in with hype. Clark, with her endorsement deals, sellout crowds, and endless media spotlight, had entered a space where many veterans still felt underpaid, underpromoted, and overlooked. "She hates me" wasn't necessarily about one person. It could have been about the sentiment she was feeling in waves, from teammates unsure how to mesh with her style, from opponents wanting to humble the Golden Girl, from media narratives that pit players against each other for clicks. In that moment, Sophie became a mirror, not just to Caitlin, but to every player who's ever felt misunderstood on their rise. The bench became a confessional. And the league, unknowingly, bore witness to something rare. A superstar in the making expressing doubt. As the season rolled on, Clark's game only sharpened. Cunningham continued being her outspoken, unapologetic self. They never played on the same team, but occasionally they'd exchange subtle nods during games, moments fans would later obsess over, asking, "Are they friends? Rivals? Something in between?" 1 month later, during a charity event in Chicago, both were interviewed on the court during halftime. When asked what advice Cunningham had for younger players, she laughed. "Don't read lips on the bench." Clark, standing beside her, cracked up. It was a small gesture, but meaningful. A shared inside joke. The gossip cycle had come full circle. In the end, the now infamous "she hates me" moment wasn't a scandal, it was a signal. A brief flash of human doubt in a league too often burdened with perfection. Clark, who had carried the expectations of a franchise, a fanbase, and even a sport on her shoulders, had done something revolutionary. She admitted discomfort. And in doing so, she became even more relatable. Cunningham, knowingly or not, offered grace without grandstanding. She gave space, a smile, and maybe even mentorship in the form of a shrug. Because in the WNBA, the toughest plays often happen off the court, in glances, gestures, and whispered moments on the bench.